It's Natasha Van Bentum coming to you from the Pacific Coast in Victoria, the traditional territory of the Lekwungen people. And I'd like to dedicate this talk to my partner of 50 years, Henri Van Bentum, the artist, who on Thursday will be starting a month of radiation. And so we're all wishing him well. He's in good spirits, but that's a month of activity. So onward and upward. So I'm here today to propose an idea that is a little bit challenging, is a bit provocative, but following the brief from Ruth Mackenzie, I took it seriously. And so here it is. So while it's true that during COVID, for a while, people could look up, see stars, clear blue sky, no trails of airplanes, and listen to birds. And yet, at the same time, there's another side to that story, which is a bit surprising, is that scientists have discovered, after doing some research in China, that during that period of calm and birdsong, particulate ozone surface matter increased by 150 to 200%. And so all was not fine. The environment is still, for many of us, it's being magnified. COVID-19, I think, has acted as a powerful lens, magnifying so many issues for all of us, community, health, everything. But underlying all of our activities, whether it's health, education, social services, it's the environment. As Carl Sagan says, unless you have clean water to drink, fresh air to breathe, nothing else matters. So let's explore an idea that's based on the very ancient tradition of tithing, T-I-T-H-E. And many of you have tithed in your lifetime. It's been around for a few thousand years, beginning in Babylonia. And then leading up, all the major religions have strong traditions of tithing, both in Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and some are voluntary and some are mandatory. And traditionally, the tithe is, it's Old English, it means a tenth. So most people, when they think of tithing, they think, okay, 10% of your revenue or your farm produce is tithed. So the idea I have is, because we've been working very hard in the environment, people doing fantastic work, all the NGOs, the conservation groups, the environmental groups for more than 50 years, well more than 50 years, diligently campaigning, still it's one step forward, two steps back. And it's very surprising to many people to learn that less than 3 cents of every dollar donated by Canadians annually goes to the environment. Yeah, just less than 3 cents. And Statistics Canada includes animal welfare in that statistic. So if you extrapolate, it's more like 2 cents of every dollar. And so something's got to be done. I don't think voluntary activity is the norm anymore. And so what I'm proposing is an Earth legacy tithe. It's hard to say that, Earth tithe, but that's the notion. And I talked a little about tithing, and it was actually such a venerable and current tradition that I think it's something that could seamlessly move into the idea of an Earth legacy tithe. So I'm not proposing that it be the 10%, but just a very modest amount, be based on volume. So how would we do this? What sort of mechanisms are out there already where we could append a small fee and call it the Earth Legacy Tithe, so that all citizens have an opportunity to give back. At the end of their life, they can return to Mother Nature a token of appreciation. And so there is one mechanism, and that's a hotly debated topic of probate. Now, probate is another thing that you probably all know goes back a long time to the Middle Ages. And in 1694, in England and Wales, it was imposed under the Statute of Westminster as a duty under the Stamp Act. And so that's 1694. It's taken various forms since then, but probating has been around for a long time. And of course, probate is a provincial matter, and so fees vary province to province. So how could this possibly be implemented? Well, with great difficulty, but the time is for this type of challenge. So in other words, when every will is probated, a small amount would be added, and that would go into the Earth's Legacy Tithe Fund. And how that would be, the mechanism, the distribution, that's another topic for discussion. So tithing is the inspiration for this idea, but the other opportunity would be perhaps through death certificates. So every province looks after death certificates, and the fees range quite widely. They're quite low in some provinces and on zero in Quebec, and going up to other provinces quite exorbitant. But nevertheless, adding on a tiny amount based on volume, this would add up. And so there are other options. For example, in the Netherlands, they have something called a the literal translation is purification charge, and it's called a zuiveringslasten. So everyone has to pay this purification charge. And I thought, that's a neat idea. And of course, here in Canada, people pay water taxes and whatnot. But there are other creative ways of exploring this idea. And so that's the gist of my talk. Oh, by the way, going back to the early days of probate, the average amount on estates over 20 pounds was 5 shillings. So I would like to end with Carl Sagan again, telling us all that if we don't have fresh water to drink, clean air to breathe, nothing else is going to happen. So let me know your ideas. We can talk about it sometime and explore it further. So thank you for listening, and I hope you're all well.